I shouldn't even be here, recording this. But the handheld radio in my grip feels like the only tether left to the world outside Hangar 13. The emergency lights pulse red, slow and deliberate, like a heartbeat that doesn't belong to me. Somewhere in the far end, the black box clicks to life on its own. The pilot's voice, decades old, scratches across the PA landing gear. Failing, Mayday. Over and over, each repetition sharper, closer. Almost expecting an answer, I whisper into the recorder, if the black box ever starts playing by itself, leave the hangar no matter who's inside. The words stick in my throat. I can feel movement just beyond the dim reach of the lights, slow shifting echoes that don't belong to any human shape. Something is answering it. I tell myself it's a prank, an electrical glitch, but the shadows twist toward the sound. The pilot's voice isn't alone anymore. My own breathing mixes with the recording, and for a moment, I swear it mimics me back, almost mocking, almost patient, like it's waiting for me to speak. I grip the radio tighter. It didn't crash. It landed here on purpose, I whisper, and the echo that follows from the far end of the hangar isn't mine. It's deliberate, intimate, and I realize I'm not sure this hangar is empty. And I'm not sure I want to be the one answering anymore. But it didn't start with a mayday. It started with a job interview and a list of rules. The night air hit me the moment I stepped out of the car, dry, cold, and carrying the faint taints of jet fuel and dust. The runway stretched into black nothingness, and yet, as I drove up, the lights blinked on, one by one, without a single switch being flipped. I should have stopped, turned around, run back to the city lights, but curiosity and the paycheck pulled me forward. At the hangar, Mr. Vega waited, lean, grey-haired, one shoulder slightly higher than the other, from a limp he never explained. His fingers were yellowed from years of cigarettes. Mostly watching, he said, voice rough and patient. No patrols, no questions, just observe. He didn't smile, and his eyes flicked toward the massive hangar doors, like they themselves demanded obedience. I glanced past him at Hangar 13. Its doors were half open, shadows pooling inside, and I felt that familiar tug of unease. The hangar hasn't been used since '81, Vega added, almost as an afterthought. He didn't say what was still inside. Something old, something that should have been long gone, before I could process it. He handed me a laminated sheet, edges curling from years of handling. It wasn't a checklist, not an orientation guide. It was a list of rules. My stomach tightened. I had no idea that following them would become a matter of survival. I stared at the laminated sheet, expecting a simple security checklist. At first, it seemed mundane. Keep the hangar lights on, log any maintenance issues, check the perimeter cameras. Practical enough. But then the rules twisted into something else entirely. If the engines of plane number 19 start on their own, let them, one line read. My brow furrowed. Never respond to voices on the radio after midnight. Another, if you hear knocking from inside the cockpit, ignore it. Each instruction made my skin crawl. There was a rhythm to them, a cadence that felt less like guidance and more like a chant, the most unsettling. If the flight log opens on its own, do not read it aloud. Never, ever look inside the cargo bay. My hand hovered over the last line. The final rule had been torn away, leaving only a jagged edge. I realized, with a cold certainty, that these weren't rules. They were warnings. Something inside the hangar wanted compliance, demanded obedience, and the missing rule. Well, that was the one I feared I'd discover the hard way. 5 minutes after Vega left, the stillness of Hangar 13 broke. Plane number 19's engines hummed not idly, not like a pre-flight check, but as if they were alive, awakening. The air thickened with the acrid scent of ozone and burning dust. I froze, realizing the hangar's electrical grid was offline. Nothing should have moved. Radio static crackled in my ear. Amid the hiss, a whisper, coordinates. I glanced at the dashboard. A small light blinked urgently. Incoming. My chest tightened. It wasn't warming up. It was answering something. Some signal older than I could comprehend. The massive hangar doors shivered. Metal groaning, as though whatever was out there wanted in. I reached for the intercom, but before I could speak, a voice gravelly, unmistakably Vigaki through the static. Keep it running. Do not interfere. My hands trembled. Something beyond reason was taking command. Static cracked. Then Vega's voice emerged, distorted and hollow, calling from runway 0. My stomach dropped. There is no runway 0. The air seemed heavier, charged. Whatever you hear from me inside, the voice warned, it's not me. My pulse raced. Then the knocking began, low, deliberate, synchronized. Each rap perfectly matched the rhythm of the distorted voice. Open the door, it whispered, my name slicing through the static. I hadn't told anyone about the sound, yet it repeated my words, my cadence. Mentor had become mimic. Authority twisted into echo. When the knocking abruptly stopped, I bolted to the security feed. On the wing, under the dim red lights, a man waved tall, still, wearing Vega's jacket. But his shadow moved independently, leaning toward me. I froze in front of the monitors. There he was, an old pilot in a faded uniform, standing rigid on the wing of plane number 19, waving directly at the camera. His face shimmered in the reflection of the hangar lights, impossible to read, yet unnervingly familiar. It was as if he knew me, and I knew him, though I had never met him. I leaned closer, heart hammering. The logbook on the desk left open for the night caught my eye. My name was scrawled neatly on the last page, but beneath it, in the same looping script, appeared another name. The pilot's name, the one whose plane had landed decades ago. When I finally looked up from the screen, the wing was empty. No pilot, no movement. Only the faint hum of the engines, as if nothing had ever been there. And then the logbook flipped on its own to a page that hadn't existed a moment ago, the missing. Rule. The page trembled in my hands as I read the words aloud. Almost afraid they might hear me. If you hear engines above you, stay still. The hangar remembers, it's dead. A cold chill crawled up my spine. The lights flickered, pulsing in sync with my heartbeat, and somewhere deep in the shadows, the engines of plane number 19 rumbled not on the floor. Not inside the hangar, but above me. The radio crackled, and Vega's distorted voice filtered through. It's not haunted. It's rehearsing. Every night it takes attendance, and it never forgets. He paused, swallowing, as if the words cost him something. Flight 19. The wreckage wasn't cleared. The hangar was built over it. Everything it can't forget, it plays back. I swallowed hard, staring at the ceiling, where the low roar intensified. The air vibrated as if a plane was overhead, yet the surveillance cameras showed nothing in the sky. The hangar itself seemed alive, its steel beams creaking with memory, each echo a reminder that some things never leave. And then the sound shifted, closer, sharper, as if the engines were circling me, waiting. The ceiling panels rattled violently, as if a storm had been summoned inside the hangar. Air shimmered with invisible turbulence, and every loose object, clipboards, a stray wrench, even a folding chair, lifted slowly, defying gravity, hovering like passengers awaiting boarding. The engines above roared without shape, a phantom turbine screaming through steel beams. Then the black box crackled to life again. Its voice was different, calmer, deliberate, almost conversational. Clearance granted. My pulse raced. It wasn't repeating the past anymore. It was continuing, issuing instructions as if I were part of a flight plan I had no memory of signing. The hangar seemed to breathe around me, alive and expectant. I realized it didn't want witnesses. It wanted someone to fill seats that had been empty for decades. And then my stomach dropped. Across the fuselage of plane number 19, letters burned themselves into the metal, glowing faintly in the emergency lights. My name, stamped as if the hangar had already claimed me. The cockpit door swung open silently, though I hadn't touched it. Inside, the instruments hummed with life despite being disconnected from power, needles quivering as if aware. The seats were occupied, or at least shaped, by figures made of smoke and static. Each one impossibly human, yet impossibly hollow. A headset dangled from the overhead console, swinging slightly as if inviting me to sit. I hesitated, heart hammering. Every empty seat seemed carved in the image of someone who had once manned these controls, each a ghostly echo waiting for a replacement. Slowly, my hand reached for the headset. The moment my fingers brushed it, the radio whispered directly into my ear. The voice distorted yet intimate. Flight 19, ready for departure. The hangar no longer felt like a building. It was a vessel, and I was now its designated pilot. Curiosity warped into surrender. The realization hit me. Vega never left the cockpit. His limp wasn't a flaunt, was proof he had joined the crew long ago. And now they wanted me. The lights of Hangar 13 flickered back to life, red warnings pulsing softly as if inhaling. My voice echoed through a black box somewhere in the control room, calm and distant, recording every detail I had once lived. Outside, a new guard arrived, clipboard in hand, unaware of the rules he hadn't yet been told, unaware of the plane that waited silently. If you ever hear a plane engine with no echo, no, it isn't flying, it's remembering. This isn't a story. It isn't a warning. It's a log entry, a record of attendance for those who came before.